This just in, Vegas is dying, except that it's not. More in 11 seconds.
Is the ace of Vegas, the ace of Vegas.
Hey guys, Ace of Vegas here. So I want to do a little bit of a different video than we normally do today. I want to do a video response to another channel that I've recently discovered, Kelly Does Her Thing. Now, Kelly Does Her Thing, that's a vlogging channel made by a vlogger by the name of Kelly, and her channel is actually about what happens when you take an American and a German and have them live together. Well, that's not exactly it. It's basically just a vlog about the differences between German and American culture and the adventures and challenges of her and her dating her German boyfriend, Misha. It's actually very enjoyable. Kelly's quite likable. Her content's very well thought out, and she's very charming, so it's really great to watch. Recently, though, I did discover a video about when Kelly decided to take her boyfriend, Misha, to Las Vegas, and the short of it is, she did not have a good time and definitely argued against it for first-time Vegas visitors, specifically in our kind of age bracket, the millennial age bracket, which happens to be a big portion of my channel too, so I thought I'd go ahead and talk to you guys a little bit more about that. Kelly makes some really excellent points in a video about why you should or why you shouldn't visit Vegas, more on the why you shouldn't side, but I have a few excellent points about why you should and a couple little ones about why you shouldn't. And I think the best way to go about things is with a real Vegas veteran, just like me, your very own Ace of Vegas. Let's get started. Okay, so here's how their whole video goes. So Kelly explains that she was looking for a birthday present for her boyfriend, Misha. Misha, a German guy who's a very difficult guy to shop for. I think that's independent of him being German and really more dependent on him being a guy. Because, hey, let's be honest, you know what, fellas, we're a little hard to shop for. But you know, Kelly, smart lady, so what she decides to go ahead and do is she decides to go ahead and buy her boyfriend, Misha, a ticket, as well as her a ticket, and book a hotel in fabulous Las Vegas because he just so happens to be on the Vegas hype train. Now, I think that's a brilliant idea, especially since experiences are the best gifts. You just can't wrap those, and that's a really, really cool move to make. That's exactly the type of girlfriend you should be, or the type of boyfriend that you should be, where you're making those big moves and coming up with those great experience-based gifts if you can do it. I think that's the best way to spend time with a romantic partner. Excellent job. So now that being said, when they go ahead and go into their trip, it breaks down a little differently than we anticipated. The thing about Kelly is, so she's not a first-time Vegas visitor, but she hasn't been there for a proper trip. It sounds like she's just been there for like a day or two, there for just the party and all that. She doesn't go into detail, but she hasn't really been to Vegas proper. So this is her first time discovering Vegas too, which I think is really awesome. So she gets to see it in new eyes and then discover it in someone else's eyes too. And I think it's very fascinating, especially given that Misha is German, so he has a different perspective of the world and a different perspective of things because he's from another culture. So seeing, you know, a new place like Vegas from two different cultures, I figure would be a very exciting thing. Apparently not so much. So instead of gushing about the Bellagio fountains or maybe getting fired up about the Mirage volcanoes, Kelly actually addresses an elephant in the room. And no, this elephant is not at the Secret Garden. It's actually that Vegas is dying. Resorts were abandoned. So when addressing the resorts in the rest of the city, Kelly mentions how sparsely populated it is. The construction sites were quiet, the casinos were quiet, the resorts were completely abandoned. There were people there, but it didn't look anything like National Lampoon's Vacation, the casino, or even Ocean's 11. It was definitely not that hype train, that huge crowd of people, and the high level of energy like you'd see in a Katy Perry music video. Now here's the thing though, now I am a fan of Kelly's video, so I've seen a lot of her other ones, and she did offhandedly mention her Vegas trip in another one. So based on the data on that video and some of the footage, I can only estimate that she went early to mid-November was my best guess. And as my Vegas veterans know, early to mid-November, that's kind of getting into the low season. Once you get past September, October, it's starting to cool off, holidays are starting, school's in full swing, and people are definitely working. And if they're off for the holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas. And from Thanksgiving onwards through Christmas, that is the slowest time of year for Vegas. So leading up to that would be the second slowest time of year for Vegas. It's not so much that the resorts were abandoned, and, you know, let's be honest, tourism has been down, especially since the Mandalay Bay shooting. Tourism has been down, but it's a question of, you know, 41 million tourists versus 40 million tourists. It's been about the same, realistically. Let's go ahead and be honest. So that problem was just being off season. Honestly, I don't think going off season is a big deal. It's a lot quieter, you get much better deals, and it's not as crowded. I don't mind that so much. The media hype train. All right, so the next thing that Kelly talks about is how Vegas doesn't have that classic Vegas look to it. All right, no, stop. That's hyperbole. I exaggerated a little bit on that, but what she's referring to is kind of that classic 90s golden age of Vegas. That's classic now because that's how old we are. That's just how that is, so that's classic. But because of the media hype train that her and Misha had been on prior to that and seeing what Vegas looked like in movies and things, she presumed it was going to be a lot like, you know, Siegfried and Roy shows everywhere, and it was going to look like 21 or The Hangover. And, you know, here's the thing about Vegas media, especially movies about Vegas. You know, the tourism board's very involved. They like to shoot these things at real casinos and hire people to give it that high energy sort of thing. Anything that involves Vegas is a commercial for Vegas, for better or worse. We're talking National Lampoon's Vacation, we are talking about 21, we're talking about The Hangover, we're talking about the casino, the reality show, or the movie, whichever you prefer. And some of the documentaries about it, like The Player's Secret, if you haven't seen that one, that's an outstanding documentary about, you know, how they get high rollers in Vegas. But it's all high energy, and it's all in advertisement. And want to know why? Because people put money into this so that they get more tourism there. Advertisements are meant to sell things. That's just how advertisements work. You know that, I know that, she knows that, everybody knows that. That's just how that works. But, you know, the media hype train, I don't think that should turn you off of Vegas. You should just do your research beforehand. That's all I'm saying. I think the big problem is a lot of people do forget that Vegas is a real place. You're not going to be doing body shots of tequila off of somebody at 7 o'clock in the morning at the pool right after you've just been on a 4-hour cocaine and stripper bender. It's just not how that works. I mean, I suppose it could, but I've never seen it happen, and I'm really glad I haven't. And elephant number 2 that we want to go ahead and address is the commercial real estate bubble. So the big thing about it is at the end of the 1990s, or 2008, whichever you prefer to call it, as you know, we experienced a bit of a recession. So people were losing their houses, people couldn't afford to pay their mortgages, and that's when Vegas started taking really big hits, especially in the casinos. Gambling revenue was down, and so on and so forth. Mainly because, hey, let's be honest, if you can't pay your mortgage, you're not going to put that money into a slot machine after you've flown, you know, 2,000 miles to go ahead and get there and you know, live it up in some crazy hotel room that looks like a palace from ancient Rome. And you know, that's a valid point. My counter argument to that is, number 1, it's 10 years later, and you know what? Caesars, MGM, and Wynn are still putting up some pretty record numbers there. Granted, their stocks have not been doing well, not as of late, especially amid some sexual assault allegations and amid the controversy with the lawsuits with the Mandalay Bay victims. Let's be honest, hasn't been good for their stock. I get that, but they're hardly hurting over there. So you can look at their official financial statements. Vegas is not hurting in that regard. Tourism is still up considerably when you compare it to 2008 tourism. There's still growth. Alright, so the next point that we're going to go ahead and get over to is the food. So Kelly's criticisms of the food in Las Vegas are the over-commercialization, how many crazy celebrity restaurants there are in there, the high prices of the celebrity restaurants and the high-end restaurants, as well as the locations. The big thing is just how many restaurants there are. There are a lot of them really high-end, especially the celebrity ones. You got a lot of Gordon Ramsay, and you got a lot of Wolfgang Puck and guys like that there too. They're quite pricey, all things considered. A very nice dinner for 2 people, depending on the restaurant that you pick. If we're talking like a 4-star restaurant, we're looking at $150. And, you know, there's a lot of over-commercialization. In addition to those celebrity restaurants, a lot of other restaurants on the Strip are standard chain restaurants. P.F. Chang's, TGI Fridays, Maggiano's, which some people don't know is a chain restaurant. Spoiler warning, it is. And, you know, the worst bit about it for Kelly that she found is that these restaurants are always tucked away in the casino. So you gotta go through the casino if you want food. And while you're going through there, what are you tempted to do? You're tempted to gamble, so on and so forth. And you gotta navigate the maze of the casino where they keep throwing machines and tables and things like that at you just so you can eat. And it's the worst. Alright, now I 100% agree with the over-commercialization of things. I mean, most of these casinos are mega conglomerate corporations like MGM Resorts and Caesars again. There are a couple of them that are actually owned by the Hilton. So I'm not surprised by it, but I am getting damn sick of walking into a Starbucks every other time I decide that I want some tea or some coffee while I'm on holiday. I feel that, I get that, we're 100% in agreement on that one there. Now, as far as the pricing goes, $150 for a fancy restaurant. I hate to say it, but that's kind of the going rate for a fancy restaurant. You know, you get your alcohol, you get your mains, you get your sides and things like that. That's just how much those cost. I mean, even in Denver, you're looking at upwards of $100 at a fancy restaurant for 2 people. You know, New York, Tokyo, Los Angeles, Orlando, friggin' Florida, man. Anywhere that I've been where there's a high-end restaurant and it's a destination city, it's a little bit pricier. That's just kind of part of the tourist economy. And while we're on the subject of tourist economy, let's go ahead and be honest about the locations of things. Yes, the casinos do hide their restaurants within the casino area there. You do have to weave through some slot machines. But you know, another company does that. They're a really big corporation. They love to do the same sort of thing. You know who else does that? Disney. Yes, they're a theme park, and you know what they do? They put their food stalls in their restaurants in between the rides and in between the gift shops and in between the other attractions and all that, because they want you to see all that good stuff and possibly spend a couple extra bucks. Just part of the business model, and you know what? Those things aren't cheap to operate. And you know, fact of the matter is, if you really don't want that Jurassic World pre-packaged corporate experience, you know where you shouldn't be? On the Vegas Strip. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot more to Las Vegas than just the Strip. We got downtown, there is Spring Mountain, there's Boulder City. Well, you guys can't go there. It's for locals only. I can't go there, so you know, that's just how that is. But fact of the matter is, Times Square has an Applebee's in it. If you're going to New York and you go to Times Square and you eat the Applebee's, don't get angry because you decided to go to that Applebee's. Get out of Times Square, go to some real neighborhoods, eat some local food. There are 10,000 fantastic chefs, super high-end and super affordable that are available. You don't have to just go for the crazy stuff. Get some good local grub. Like I said, Spring Mountain, if you want to get off the Strip, lots of fantastic restaurants, especially local Asian restaurants that are just phenomenal. I'd pick that over Maggiano's or even Gordon Ramsay any day of the week. Okay, so here's another sensitive subject, especially for me here. The gambling odds are lousy. Kelly talks about how lousy the gambling odds are in the Las Vegas casinos and how you go to the gambling mecca of the world and you really want to gamble, but when you do, you just have such a lousy time with it because the odds are really bad, the paybacks are really bad, so on and so forth.
A tactic employed by Las Vegas casino owners to try to squeeze as much money as they could out of fewer customers was to decrease winning rates. And sure, on the surface, it sounds reasonable. If you want to increase your profit margin, then decrease the output of winnings. Except they didn't consider the Z factor in this equation. The Z factor being the experience of its customers. Sure, their tactic might prove successful for the tourists that go to Las Vegas and decide to gamble for the first times in their life because, I mean, they're in Vegas and that's what you're supposed to do. You don't go to Paris and not see the Eiffel Tower.
Although, I guess in Vegas you can do both at the same time? And you know, I'm not really going to argue with Kelly about this one over here. The odds are pretty lousy. They have 6-5 blackjack all over the Strip, and downtown isn't too much better, but you know, fact of the matter is, if you're a spinner or a shark like me, then you know what your odds are going into the game. Even if you're a casual gambler, it pays to do some research. Learn basic strategy. Learn some rudimentary card counting. Understand where the must-hit-by slot machines are. Learn craps. Learn perfect strategy in video poker. It's up to you to spend your money wisely and gamble your money wisely. Set yourself a budget, or alternately, choose not to gamble. If you are gonna go, just to say that you're gonna go, put your 20 bucks in your slot machine, you pull. If you win something, awesome. If not, hey, you got your free beer. That's how it is. You gotta know yourself. You gotta educate yourself in this sort of situation if you really wanna make the most out of your experience. Another source of ire for Kelly here on her last Las Vegas trip was the expense of the trip. From what I understand and what she had told us on the video, she had spent about $700 on a weekend trip at the link, 200 of which were actually part of the resort fees and taxes. And I get that, that's a significant chunk of change right there. She even says it like that herself. And personally, yeah, 700 bucks, that's a bit of money. That's half a housing payment out here, so I feel you on that. That's some money. Now, there were a couple mistakes that were made here when Kelly was booking her trip. Number one, I see she didn't play any real rewards games. Not to say that you really have to, but you really miss out on a lot if you're not playing win slots, binions, or my personal specialty, MyVegas, because that can really save you a big chunk of change too, especially if you're getting 2 or 3 of those nights for free on your 3-day vacation. Number two, she picked a fairly prominent hotel, The Link, to book on a weekend where it's the most expensive even in the off-season, so that was another thing too. From what I could tell, she also missed out on a Players Club card. I'm fairly certain that it's Caesars Rewards or Total Rewards, whatever they're calling it nowadays, but I'll have to double check that to confirm in the video. Let's go ahead and put that down here on the screen, right down here. And finally, I think the big thing that really got her was the taxes, which I admit are pretty exorbitant, but most other destination holidays like New York or, Pismo Beach or, what have you, just any destination city where you're gonna have a big resort hotel like that is also gonna have resort fees, and it's also gonna have some pretty exorbitant taxes because a lot of the city's income and the state's income do come from those casinos, and they go ahead and approve those resorts approve those, and that's just kind of part of being a resortist. I mean, Priceline's good if you just want a quick Airbnb, but I definitely would not Priceline it or Expedia it for a proper Vegas vacation. There are other avenues, and I feel like Kelly missed out on that, and she could have had a much better time if she had taken a little extra time, or if anyone had offered her, like, hey, you can do this, or let her know about this, just giving her a heads up about all that, so you would have had a much better time, Kelly. I'm telling you, stick around. Now, another big thing that we wanted to go ahead and talk about is how eventful Las Vegas is, and not so much. So the way that Kelly described things from her research and her experience is that the conventions and weddings are basically the only things going on there, aside from the occasional Cirque du Soleil show or, a Lady Gaga concerts, which, are both excellent things, but apparently not quite enough to keep Vegas relevant nowadays. Adventure tourism is on the rise, but the bottom line of the argument is that people do want experiences, which I understand and like experience too, and Vegas is not providing them. Now, that being said, Kelly, I'm gonna wall you real quick like a Megan Trainor with Now, Vegas does offer quite a bit when it comes to experiences. I know you talked about Lady Gaga and how even though she's awesome, she's not quite enough to carry the Vegas scene. I'm gonna say no to that. Lady Gaga is an Egyptian god and she must be worshipped as such. She could carry the entire Las Vegas tourist scene on her back while wearing some ridiculous meat dress. Now, while we're on the subject though, adventure tourism. I know that Kelly and Misha did actually enjoy a nice little trip to the Grand Canyon in one of those ridiculous little slingshot cars, which are amazing, gotta tell you. So aside from that though, you get the Hoover Dam, and there's also Mount Charleston, which is a paltry 45 minutes away from the Strip, where you have the option to go skiing, hiking, there's a lot of backpacking that you can do up there, mountain biking, lots of fun outdoorsy stuff. But on the offhanded chance that your idea of a good time isn't trekking through the desert in the middle of September where it's still a blazing 104 degrees, there are a couple other experiences you can have in Vegas. The pools, some of us do still like the spas, some of us do still like the lounges, and quite a few of us still enjoy the gaming. And not even just winning $20 at blackjack and running away, there's a whole nother avenue of gaming. The esports arena is exploding right now. Vegas is a great spot for that. It's been so intense and interesting that Luxor decided to go ahead and open their own esports arena where some of the best players in the world come to play Call of Duty, Fortnite, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate now, I guess, and a whole bunch of other amazing games, and you get to meet lots of amazing people and just have a really good time. Shoot, last time Wendy came with me, we decided to go ahead and put our sightseeing on hold because we found an amazing game of Pac-Man, and it was a great time. I mean, the thing about it is, you know, you get your dispensaries and everything. Las Vegas is the only place in the world where you can go to the Reef Dispensary, and then you can go to the Shark Reef after that, and then go ahead and hit the slots, win a jackpot, take it back to the Mirage to go see the Tigers in front of a hotel where there's a friggin' volcano exploding, and then you can go ahead and go back and play video games in a pyramid. Vegas will not die because it doesn't have enough of one thing. Vegas has thrived for over 100 years because it has something for everyone. And you know, there are resortists, bloggers, gamblers, entertainers, and 40 million other people that I think would agree with me every single year. Fact of the matter is, I'm not hating on anybody for writing an opinion piece. In fact, this was actually really fun to respond to the opinion piece, break down the video, and do some of my own research too to go ahead and support my points, in addition to looking into some of the research that Kelly did to support her points. And I've just had a really fantastic time doing this video, and I really hope that she gets to see it and gets a chance to even maybe respond to this. This would be really cool. But the point I'm trying to make is, do not get on the media hype train. Do your own research and make your own memories. Advertisers are paid to make things look amazing, even if they're not. Otherwise, McDonald's probably wouldn't have the following it has, because let's be honest, you know, you guys have seen those commercials for McDonald's and you've been to a real McDonald's. There's a pretty major disconnect there, and nobody's made a video about that lately. There is a lot of commercialization out there, but there is a lot of local flavor and a local fun to be had, and you can take advantage of the over-commercialization to go ahead and make it a little more affordable and a little more comfortable for yourself. In fact, you know, I actually whipped up about 6 tips over here to go ahead and help people that are going for their first Vegas vacation that don't want to end up having kind of a lame experience. First things first, get yourself a Players Club card. They are free to sign up for. They're basically like a King Soopers card for a casino. You get an instant discount, they treat you better, and the next time that you go around, you're gonna get an even better deal. While we're on the subject of deals, rule number 2, don't be afraid to check on a Groupon. You know, if you find something that you really want to do, take a look into it. Maverick does some pretty killer Groupons occasionally. I know that most of the casino hotels and the restaurants there that you gotta fight through the casino to get to, if you run off a Groupon there, they're kind of stuck with that, and you can get one hell of a meal for probably about 60% of what you normally pay. So instead of that full $150, you're probably looking at a good $90 bill. Much better deal if you ask me. Another tip I recommend, travel during the week, avoid conventions. Those are the most expensive times when there's a convention or the weekend in general, because those are really popular times. A lot of people are moving towards going during the middle of the week, like we're talking Sunday through Thursday, and you know, the prices are still cheaper, so people are just taking advantage of that. Casinos aren't really doing anything about that, so you have the advantage there. Another thing I might advise, hit up Mount Charleston. Do something a little outdoorsy. I mean, granted, you're in the middle of a desert, but it is one of the most beautiful deserts I've ever really seen. Mount Charleston is a great place to be. And while you're hitting up Mount Charleston, even if you don't make it out there, get off the Strip. The Strip is the center of the mega conglomerate corporation. If you don't want that prepackaged experience, at least go downtown. If you're lucky, maybe go ahead and meet somebody that's local so they can take you to a local casino. I gotta admit, as much as I enjoy P.F. Chang's, I'd much rather go to a local Vietnamese or Thai joint down in Spring Mountain and get some real authentic Thai cuisine compared to the prepackaged P.F. Chang's like Asian American fusion nonsense. And 6, check out some Vegas tubers. So I myself, I consider myself a Vegas tuber, but there's some other bigger, cooler guys just like me that do this sort of stuff, help you get a better deal in Vegas and do well. Jacob Orth, for example, at Jacob's Life in Vegas. Danny702, she does tours of the casinos and all that good type of stuff and gives you history lessons on them. I know the guys at What's New Vegas. They like to go over scams and then crazy things that happen on the strip and all that. So they're a great place to go ahead and check out the happenings in Vegas. So, pick up a couple guys, and of course, I teach you how to play the free casino video games to get the best rooms and the best meals and the best show tickets, all for free. So, feel free to stick around if you haven't dropped that like and subscribe yet. That's my shameless plug right there. And thanks again for watching. If you guys got any questions, drop them in the comment section below. Special thanks out to Kelly Does Her Thing for making the first video and not copyright striking me for responding to it. So thank you for that. I really hope this actually makes it onto YouTube. And then I'll see you next time. So until then, strong hands and happy spinning, you guys.